Facebook just changed a ton of stuff. Now, most of you have been in my classes before. I'm a nice guy, right? Most of the time. I mean, some of you might say I'm not kind of nice, but I have bad news pretty much this entire time today. It's going to be bad news. I did this in Jackson yesterday, and by the end of it, people were like leaning on their desk like, seriously, what's wrong, you know? So I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but what I will say is, if you start to do things right on Facebook, and by right, I mean by playing the rules, that all of those that are not are going to fall off quickly. Those that are doing things right will rise right to the top. All right, so today, the purpose of me being here is to try and tell you how to do things right. There will be extended classes going forward. I'll get into that throughout and at the end, especially with the seminar series that I have coming up. It's not an hour-long class. It's several in order to get it going and get it done right, and we've opened that up for all of you. So, title of the presentation is, Facebook. All right? Now, we've been through Facebook changes before. As you all know, it seems like every month there's a change. This is a radical change that required an actual press release from Mark Zuckerberg, which, if you don't know who Mark Zuckerberg is, he's the guy that started the whole Facebook thing. Okay? So let's move on. And in the first, 5 to 7 slides, these come directly from their quotes, basically right from the press release. This is not my words, this is Mark Zuckerberg. So, the whole reason this is happening is that there was quickly becoming a very poor experience on Facebook. Now, you guys probably already know, because you've already seen in your 15 to 20 minutes of Facebook time, what were you not seeing anymore? You were not seeing family. You were not seeing friends. Every 5 posts was a business message or some sort of political message or some garbage that you're not on Facebook for. Okay? So, what was happening was they were making steady growth in money, but membership was dwindling. Not good. Because the entire premise of Facebook is to connect people and have relationships. So if membership is going this way, but ad revenues are still going this way, pretty soon ad revenues are going to join it and go back the other way. So Mark Zuckerberg, being smart, said, we got to get ahead of this. All right? So his quote is, we've received substantial information from our users that information and advertising from brands and businesses are crowding out personal moments. Okay? Next. Yeah. Okay. Now, he said, we are changing the goal of Facebook from finding relevant content to you to helping you have more meaningful social interaction with family and friends. Now, our business messages, will they probably ever become meaningful interaction between family and friends? Probably not. Now, they could, and I'm going to get into how or what the expectation is, but just understand that if you're out there posting on Facebook and you've already started to see a decline in how many people get reached on your Facebook posts, it's because they've already started testing in a lot of different markets the fact that if you're not creating moments between family and friends, not necessarily yours, but it could be other people's family and friends, it just falls flat. Okay, next. The space in the newsfeed is limited. We're going to show less public content, including videos and other posts from publishers and businesses. Mark Zuckerberg is telling you, I'm not going to show your stuff if it's not interesting and if it's not generating engagement with people. Now, obviously, we're going to get into boosting a little bit later. this is going to be your opportunity to do it right. And I'll expand on that. Now, on that, and there's another slide coming up on this, based on this news that came out from Mark Zuckerberg, Huffington Post laid off 2,500 writers.
Wow.
Because Huffington Post only got information out into the news feed by not boosting. So Mark Zuckerberg comes out and says, guess what? All that free publicity stuff you guys were getting, done. Now, is that good for us? Maybe. We'll get into that. All right, next. Pages may and will see their distribution and or watch time dwindle unless a post initiates meaningful conversations between users in the comments, as well as vast amounts of reactions and shares. This is the absolute key. Take this with you today. I'm going to talk about this a lot. I've underlined it here, meaningful conversations. All right? In your posts, if two people, not you being one of them, start conversing about whatever it is you posted, it's going to shoot into the news feed with everybody. If your posts do not create meaningful conversations between people, they will probably last an hour or two and then die. So, everybody that posts out there and then comes back to me, especially in the last month, and says, I'm posting all the time and no one's seeing it. Like there's a viewership of 1 or 2, out of 1,000. Well, this is why. Because it has to connect meaningful conversations between people. So, based on that information, what would you think we should do in order to create meaningful conversations? I'll let a couple people say. Yes?
I'm going to react from my personal page with my business page and have my friends do the same.
Okay, you could do that. What else? Yes?
My dog has a Facebook page. He's going to react to all my
Okay, so.
But then aren't those the people that are going to see your stuff?
Right, so here's the thing. Go to the next slide. Don't ask people to comment or share. The very instance of you saying comment below will immediately get 0 into the news feed, could possibly get it absolutely taken off. Now, they've also said that if the same people are interacting with your posts, then those will be the only people that ever see your posts. So, if you've got your dog Facebook account, then guess what? Your dog will be the only one that ever sees your posts. So, right. So now you could call 5 of your friends and say, hey, I need you to have a meaningful conversation about my post. And if it's the same 5 people, then guess what? You can't game the system. The Facebook algorithm is smarter than our brains, and it will see that those same 5 people are the only people that interact with your posts. Now, from a personal standpoint, that's what Facebook wants. Because if I'm always interacting with Janet on her site, and like literally we're always interacting, then Facebook assumes that I want to see all of Janet's posts. Natural. They want to get back to how they first started, where Facebook is less of a business type platform and more of a personal, genuine relationship type format. I know I go through my feed anymore, my personal feed, and there's a ton of people I don't even know. I mean, some of them are coaching clients that I know. I did maybe a 1-hour Facebook setup with them, and I've never really spoken to them since, and I still see their posts. I don't mind that, but in the end, they're not like my true friends. Okay? They're not the people I want to see what's happening with their grandkids and that kind of thing. It doesn't happen. So that's what Facebook's trying to get back to. All right. Now, all of your posts that have an external link in it, and here's where we have some stuff to clean up on RCS. Okay? Everything that has a post with an external link on it will be judged very tightly. Unless you boost, you're not going to get people externally linking from inside Facebook out of Facebook. So let's say you do an open house post, but you don't boost it. It will probably be shown to 0 people if you have a link that goes out to Flex or Realtor Concierge or anything like that. Facebook's intent right now is to keep people on Facebook. The minute you're asking people, especially for free, unless you're willing to pay for it, the minute you're asking people to leave Facebook to go somewhere else, they'll say no for you on your behalf. Okay? It's like your parents growing up, right? They immediately say no because they think they know what's best for you. This is Facebook's way of saying, you know what? There's too much junk going on in the newsfeed. Membership's declining. Unless people are willing to pay to have people leave Facebook, we're not willing to show. That's a major, major thing. As agents, we often post on Facebook, rarely boost, which means you're throwing money behind it, but we always link out. Almost always we're linking out to a property page, to a free guide, to something like that. This is a major, major thing for us, okay? Now, in my estimation, and we'll see how much it really affects all of us in the next month, maybe even 2 months, Facebook is absolutely now a pay-to-play platform. If you are not willing to pay, you will not play.
Well, it is for us, because we have to, the advertising rules for real estate say we have to link it to the MLS.
You can, but
You have to.
in the end, Facebook, the only differentiation here is that it needs to be paid
Right.
in order to reach anyone.
But if we're reaching,
Right.
we have to pay. That's
Right.
what I'm saying. We have to pay.
Anymore, if you're not willing to pay, if you're just gonna put it out there and you're not putting money behind it, Facebook won't show it to anybody. Okay? All right, next. Now, this is a big surprise to me. All of that so far has not been a surprise to me. This is a big surprise to me because a year ago, I was preaching video. Facebook gave it a shot for an entire year and said, you know what? People really on Facebook only watch 10 to 15 seconds of a video. And then they're like, you know what? It's too convenient to just keep scrolling. So Facebook, contrary to what I ever would have thought, is probably going to become less of a video format now and more of a true engagement format. This aside, if you do Facebook Live, what happens? Because it's visual and interactive, it's live, people often comment. So, genuine conversation, meaningful conversation can be based on a Facebook Live. So, case in point for us, when you're about to do an open house, get on Facebook Live. Do something, whether you're standing there doing a selfie Facebook Live where you're showing yourself and the property. I don't think that's all that important. If you're nervous to do that kind of thing, don't worry about that. But just give people a tour around the house. Turn your phone the other direction so they can still hear you talking and show some details. Here's the key. If they have cool tile or cool hardwood floors or a nice bathroom or something, if you see, and you can tell when you're on Facebook Live, you can tell how many people are on there with you. Try and engage people into conversation.
So Brent, question for you.
Yep.
So who will see the Facebook Live?
People that are your personal friends or people that have liked your business page. Now, I would say this. If you're going to do Facebook Live, do it from your personal. That's where your biggest number of connections are right now. And at that point, it kind of crosses the line from what I've always said, not to do business on personal. But in this instance, I think it's going to be good for you. All right? Now, if you get shut down, I promise I'll take it back. All right? But in the end, I want to make sure that you're able to at least still get out there with your brand? And my thought is, and this is purely a guess, I have no proof of this, but I get paid to guess, so I'm guessing for you. I think Facebook overall now will start to give you a brand identity and a popularity identity. So the more meaningful conversations you can generate between your business page and your personal, and both, it probably will escalate what you put out, especially on your business page. It will carry with you. On the contrary, if everything you put out on Facebook gets 0 likes, 0 comments, 0 shares, that will also follow you. And Facebook will say, you know what, nobody likes this person, they're out. Okay? So be careful. Literally, no, they won't close your account. They'll just, whatever you post, it'll be an audience of 1. It'll be you.
So it's really like if we give them more, they're going to give us more.
That's exactly what it's about. And it's not just about giving more, it's about creating that, remember, meaningful conversation. Meaningful conversations are everything. But remember, you can't ask them to comment, like, share. You can't do that, or else it'll go nowhere.
So if you're mixing up what you're, like, so this morning I put Instapot users, tell me about beef stew. And
Yeah.
there's tons of people commenting.
That's perfect.
Whatever. It doesn't have to be about real estate. It's just they're going to flag me as that's good conversation.
Exactly.
If I put something that is more business related, it automatically gets a higher reach.
Right.
Because other things did.
Exactly, because it's creating meaningful conversation. So now, if what I just said was true, if Vanessa's doing that a lot, then guess what happens? Her brand popularity, her personhood popularity, now when she does post something like an open house that may not be getting that interaction, she might still get out there a little bit more because she's seen as a popular person, a person that people want to interact with. Okay, now again, that's my guess in this. But thinking like a developer, but also thinking like a marketing person from Facebook's standpoint, they're going to want to promote the people that look like they're the popular people, the people that already connect. All right, so let's keep going. All right, so this isn't just a slap on the news and the business and your business page, all of that. Your personal posts will do the same thing. All right, now, my second guess in all of this is that this is probably in prep for the next political cycle, so that if people start having irritable conversations amongst each other like this last election did, then Facebook will be able to control it. They will have already programmed the algorithm to pick that up and squash it. Good. Because the mass exodus on Facebook over this last political cycle was off the charts. And literally people were becoming less personal friends. They would see each other in the grocery store and like never look at each other, you know, and it's ridiculous. So I think a lot of this is in prep actually for events just like that. Yeah. We'll hug it out later. All right. Next. So now, if it's not more complicated than I've already stated, here's more complication. Now you're going to be weighted more heavily on the length of your posts. Case in point, if you decide to promote a blog that you've written or an article you've seen, something like that, instead of doing a simple paragraph, post the whole thing. Okay? Now, will it get further engagement? I doubt it, because again, people get bored on Facebook fast. It's so easy to just keep scrolling as you go. And since most people are using their mobile, the last thing they want to do is read an entire article. But Facebook also tracks the time that people stay in one place on their phone. So if they're reading and reading and reading and reading and reading, and they see that you've stayed in the same place for 5 seconds, then that might help you. That's my guess. But in the end, they want to know that the right people are keeping others on Facebook longer. All right? Next. So, they're going back to their free routes because the most rapid incline for them over time was when there was less business stuff Everybody was excited. Everybody was finding people they hadn't seen in years. That's their goal, is to get back to their roots. And any of you that have been in my classes know that when you walk into Facebook and you see the first thing that's written right above you when you first walk in is, we want to be the Facebook that puts Facebook out of business. They are reinventing themselves because they have to. If they don't, someone else will come in and spit them out. All it would take is one social network didn't have a ton of business messages to come in and get attraction on it, and people would split out fast. And then now Facebook's got to acquire them in order to live. All right? All right, so what are we going to do? Oh, based on this, if I didn't mention this already, based on this news, Facebook stock dropped 4% instantly. Because everybody that owns stock in Facebook, they don't care how many people, well, they care about the membership, but they care about the advertising revenue. All right? So Zuckerberg lost $1.4 billion that day from his net worth because it dropped 4%. So yeah, as he's sitting around in, his camper, right? Yeah, exactly.
Today, by the way.
In the end, this is not a decision that came easy to them, because they knew that the people that now they're accountable to, this was going to happen. I think 4% is actually moderate compared to what they probably had analyzed what happened. All right, let's keep going. I already talked about the Huffington Post. Let's move on. Now, how are we going to get around this? I've been telling you for at least 2 years now that if you can find something valuable to post every day, that's a good thing. I am now scaling back and saying maybe post twice a week. Well, on your personal, it's different. Yeah. I would say any business messages or sharing articles, things like that, scale it back to probably twice a week. Paul is going to be happy about that because he hates going out there as it is, so he's going to be happy to only have to do it now twice a week or maybe once a week. The intent is, before you press post, think about, will this generate meaningful conversations between two individuals? If it won't, try and figure out something else. Now, my job through Realtor Concierge is going to be to try and help you understand how to do that, and to watch as some of you do it, watch as I do it for others. And at that point, hopefully we'll get some sort of a trend that initiates conversations amongst people without having to overtly say something. And also, I'll push the limit a little bit more to see if there's certain things we can say and not say. Now, let me say this, one last thing. If you're not signed up for the training that's coming up on Monday or Tuesday next week, I'm spending 20 minutes in that presentation to teach you subconscious selling. Things you can say that will initiate conversation, things that will put something in someone's mind in order for them to respond back to you. If you're not signed up for that, make sure you come. That 20 minutes will be very, very valuable information, and you'll have access to everything. You'll get my PowerPoint slides that day, and I have fill-in-the-blank worksheets for you where you can actually see that taking place. You'll be able to use this. I actually wrote that before all this came down with Facebook. It's going to be the absolute perfect time now to be able to use that information. It'll be plug and play. And if you start to see that there's a trend, that it does initiate conversation amongst people, just go with it, until Facebook decides it's not good, So,
Next slide, Bob.
Next slide. Recommendation number 2. In every post you do not put a link unless you know you're going to boost. Always put call or text. Even if it's an article, say, if you have any questions about this, call or text. Now, if it weirds you out to have your actual cell phone number, your real cell phone number out there. Get a Google Voice number, and it will somebody can call or text that Google Voice number, and it will forward to your actual cell number. Now, we're kind of always out there in real estate anyway, so we probably shouldn't be protective like that. But in the end, there's your option if you would rather not post your personal number out on a random Facebook post. All right, next.
So can I just say something about ads management?
Yeah.
So you're going to see we're already testing some things within the concierge service to keep people on Messenger.
Yeah.
The big picture, that's really where we want to keep people. Because if you're in Messenger, you're still on Facebook, and it's going to create a lot more activity.
Right. So if you haven't heard about the training, 2 hours coming up. It's like a primer on what all we're going to do in this, and then you'll have 3 tracks you can take after that: a recruiting track, a seller track, and a buyer track. And each one of those tracks has 3 additional hours that I'll sit with you with worksheets in this environment, and we'll actually put strategies together for each one of those, including messaging. A lot of what's going to happen in those strategies now, instead of linking off of Facebook, we're going to try and link into Messenger instead. All right, I'm going to teach you how to do that. And I think what'll happen is, and this is a guess, but I think what'll happen is if you create the meaningful conversations then in Messenger with people and then share a link, you won't be punished. And that's why I'm going to head that way. So that's that.
So you think they're looking at what you're writing in Messenger?
Oh yeah. They'll see time on screen. They'll see all that kind of stuff. I mean, they can read all of our conversations anyways. So I mean, even on your phone, I think Siri's hooked in with Facebook. You know, there's things you'll talk about with your spouse. You go to Facebook 10 minutes later, and now you see an ad for it, right? So yeah. So anyways, just tuck it under your underarm or something. All right. So before you post, choose a detail. I kind of got into this with your open house posts especially. Instead of doing the front of a house all the time, pick 3 to 5 pictures of the most interesting details in the house. Now, most of you know I shoot real estate photography as well. It's easy for a photographer, and if they tell you it's not easy, tell them they're full of junk, okay? It's easy for a photographer while they're there to shoot pictures of tile and hardwood floor, nice fixtures, things like that. Get into the details, because details are what people are going to talk about. The same front of the house, no one will ever talk about how lovely the front is unless it's landscape to the nines. But they can't tell if it's landscape to the nines if you're not getting a nice close-up of that. If they've got nice pavers or some beautiful outdoor kitchen or something, get into the details, because you've got to start generate this meaningful conversation. Now, this gets into a lot of strategy. We're now having to be forced not to be lazy with Facebook. We've got to start thinking what can create meaningful conversations. All right. Same thing, just cover that. Keep going. All right, longer and more meaningful posts. Throughout, I'd say by the time you get into the 2nd or 3rd paragraph from now on, you'll probably be able to stick in some of these conversational type items without it being flagged by Facebook. Meaning, if you create a nice long post and then in conversation you bring up that you'd like to talk about this or that, or maybe you start by commenting in the comments and somebody sees it and reflects back, your comment probably won't matter to Facebook, but if it initiates a meaningful conversation, then it might actually lead you down a good path. All right, so longer, meaningful posts. Yeah, so even if a number of people start to like it, just say, oh, I saw you like the post. What was your favorite part?
In the comments?
Yeah, in the comments. So remember, keep the intent post related, but as much as you can create that meaningful conversation, it's going to be valuable.
And you can mention their name so that they know.
Yeah, you tag them. Yep. Think of every post as a relationship builder. All right. Now, I've talked about this several times. Your free opportunities on Facebook, in my estimation, are probably gone. They're probably gone. Anything that you would post and not put money behind to boost, it's probably over. So, does that mean that you've got to spend hundreds of dollars per month? Probably not, but I'm not going to stand here and tell you that if you don't spend $20 a week, that your posts are going to go anywhere. It could well be that you just have to do something else and not really expect it. We have to, let me say this, we need to change our expectations of Facebook. All right, the free stuff, it's probably out. Maybe twice a week we don't go to Starbucks and instead we boost a post. Okay? Maybe we realign our priorities until we can put dedicated budget towards it. All right? My classes going forward are not necessarily going to be what we should be posting and trying to get free leads out of it. It's going to be all based on, you're going to have to do $5 there, you're going to have to do $10 there. This is what to say, this is why you're going to have to say it, this is who you're going to target. That's what I'm going to teach, because I don't think the freebies are going to go anywhere anymore. All right? Now, I could be wrong, and I hope I'm wrong, but I think I'll be wrong in 6 months, because what'll happen is people will give up. There'll be less noise in the newsfeed. There'll be less clamoring for those precious few spots. And as people drop off and stop doing it, it will allow those of us that are still doing it to crawl back in. That's a guess. It's a wish, a hope. All right. Think before you post. Like I said, before you hit post, think, is there anything about this that's going to cause a meaningful conversation between two people? If there's not, I'm not telling you not to do it. I'm telling you to lower your expectations to 0 and be surprised. Or pay. Okay? Next. Back to basics. So how are we going to get around this? Okay. Email. 3 years ago, email spam filters were going crazy. None of the messages we were sending were getting through. It's still kind of the way it goes, but I'm going to start recommending that people, if they can't pay a lot for Facebook, you need to get email addresses as quickly, as actively, as stockpiled. As much as you can do to get email addresses, you need to get them. It's the only thing that's so far out of control anymore that they can't regulate it. Zuckerberg doesn't own email marketing. Al Gore does, okay? So, and he just doesn't care anymore. All right? So in the end, you need to stockpile email addresses like nobody's business, because it could be that if Facebook starts taking all of our powers away, and listen, it's their platform, so they can do whatever they want. We still have email. Now, what are the best ways to get email addresses other than using social media? I'm going to say the bad words. Open houses. Okay? We all hate doing open houses because only one person shows, and then we wasted 2-3 hours, right? Well, guess what? We probably don't have a choice. We're going to have to go back to what it was a decade ago, where that's where you got the majority of your business, other than making phone calls. Also, phone calls going forward. Any cold call you make at all, you should see it as an absolute victory if you can get an email address from them. And Realtor Concierge going forward, if you complete the rest of the training steps, you will have access to at least 20 different campaigns that you can send out via email, and they will track every action that someone takes. You just have to understand how it is to almost become a professional marketer. That's why there's 9 hours of training. All right? But if you do, if you can complete it, if you can show that you can manage it, we're going to open up a whole new section to you on Concierge. All right? It may be the best and only way that you're going to continue to get traction over time. Okay? Because Facebook, I just don't know. We in general, we just don't know. All right, next. Multiple business cards. You've heard me talk about this before. Since we can't really get our messages out on Facebook, if you want to start attracting first-time home buyers or over 55s, create a second and third business card that has links to your guides on Realtor Concierge that are already written for the over 55s and for the first-time home buyers and for the sellers. I'm going to recommend that you have somewhere between 5 and 10 different business cards. And on the flip side, the front side will look the same. On the flip side, it's going to have a link somewhere to a guide so that we can constantly acquire email addresses. Everyone you meet, you will have a demographic type card that you can hand them and say, hey, I've got some free information for you right the way you need it right now. You're thinking about downsizing? Perfect, I got a guide for you. Here, it's right on the back. Just type in that address. Free guide. Just download it. We're going to acquire email addresses. Business cards cost us what? Like for $500, like $20 or something? You might invest $100 and finally get this email marketing thing going. All right, next. Same with brochures. They'll be accessible. Networking events. Takes time, but guess what? All those meetups we used to do and all those Chamber of Commerce events that we no longer do, those are going to become important because that's going to be the place that we can start to acquire email addresses. You know, every business in the world, especially small business, they want to interact with you. They want to be able to help you if you can help them. You know, start to amass, email stuff now. If you've got personal websites, get a whole section together now of that you're promoting other people and what they do, and get out, meet people. We don't have a choice. Next.
I think as far as the link, so maybe you don't need multiple business cards. We have one link on the back that someone clicks on to go to a landing page, and then a drop down for
Could do
what
that.
type of brochure you want.
Yep.
So you're first-time home buyer, are you this, are you that, and behind the scenes we're tracking everything.
Right.
So now you know who did what and when.
Right. That's a great idea. And here's the thing, as some of this takes place and we need to add things to Realtor Concierge, we will. Because our whole system's about trying to make it easy for you guys to actually acquire business, acquire contacts, and then stay in contact and follow up with them. The first day of the track training is going to be how to follow up with people once you actually get them in the system. And I'm going to tell you, there's certain people that you should be very aggressive with and certain people you should be very passive with, all based on the timeline. That's what the training's going to be all about. And I'm going to just show you, this is what's going to work. This is what could work. And if you do it according to, then you'll get your own stats as you go as well. All right, next. I just covered this, do open houses. Right now, I think I said this in the last class, I think for Adele's 5 offices, we have over 2,400 listings on the books right now. At one point, I think it was in December, it may have been early January, I don't remember the last time I taught, but there was only 24 open houses in that weekend. Well over 2,000 listings, 24 open houses in one weekend. And that's according to the MLS. That means that over 2,100 listings from our offices, they weren't being represented at all via an open house. So even if you don't have listings, borrow some. Roberta, I think you've been putting out there 3 weeks in a row. Like, hey, anybody have an open house I could sit? I'd love to sit it. We'll start I think Dawn's starting to do some of this, Dawn Ox as well, where she's starting to accumulate names of people that have listings. I mean, some of our agents have over 40 listings. I don't know if you know that, but they can't possibly cover all of those on their own. So at that point, we need to be sitting those for them. Janet's like the open house queen. She's always doing it because she gets results. And this is how she gets in it. It's how she gets buyers. It's how she gets access to listings. Gonna have to do it.
You know what, Brent? Could I just say something
Yep.
about the open houses? So when you bring something up in the concierge system, you click on it, on that listing, it brings up a landing page for the open houses. If you enter the data into the landing page from the people that came into the open house, they automatically go into an 8-part 33 drip campaign. But just as importantly, we're tracking all the information for you that you have access to. So now if you've done an open house for 4 weeks in a row and say 5 potential buyers came in there, that's 20 people. None of them put an offer in on the property. But what you do know, because you tracked it electronically, is we know that it was a $350,000 purchase price in a particular area, that it was a first-time home buyer home. So now when you have a listing that fits that demographic, you have 20 people you can get the message out to right away. So much of the system is the ability to laser focus the people we're going to market to over the course of time. If we know these 20 people specifically looked at this, well, now we got a target audience that we can go after. And I've talked about the open house system in the past. I mean, it's absolutely critical moving forward that we're capitalizing on all those activities.
Absolutely. And it's so easy. I mean, you pull up the property, you log in, you pull up the property, you click the link for the digital open house while you're there, and you just sign people in. It's just a form. And it automatically kicks off follow-up that you've never done before. At least 8 emails go out over 30 days. And most of the time, after 1 or 2, we give up, right? Because we think people aren't interested. But I can tell you from our stats, there are people that get to number 7 that never contact the agent, but if the agent actually took the time to contact them, they would probably speak with them. They're actually opening our emails, but the agent never reaches back out to them.
And you can track all this activity. So these email chains are geared towards you. They're not geared towards anything else but the real estate agent trying to capture more business. Now, if someone opens up that email, you're going to know Jane Smith opened up email number 3, which was a first-time homebuyer's guide. And you can know that in real time. What a great time to follow up with that individual. And if it's email number 8, you're going to know it's email number 8, and we track all these statistics that you have access to.
Right, and all these emails go out in your name. So at the bottom of these emails, it pulls in your first name, your last name, your contact information. They may not reach out to you, but if you have specific intel now in the background and you know that they've been opening all the emails, you should be contacting these people. So, and again, this is what a lot of the training is going to be about, and you'll see why Concierge is set up the way that it's set up, because it's purposefully in place to make your follow-up via phone so much more strategic. Instead of looking at a list of 100 people that you should call, you can look at a list of 3 that are actively associated with you and then make the phone calls based on that. All right. We're going to get into doing the Facebook plan. Again, I'm still, because this just happened 2-3 weeks ago, maybe 4 at the most, I'm now reworking some of Realtor Concierge in order to try and figure out how to recommend to you to do things right. But in the end, by the time the training comes along, we're going to be floating right through it. And to me, so much bad news today, right? Like I asked you guys not to hate me, because it's like, what are we going to do? I'm letting you know that because I can get into this in a way that most of you can't, just because of the way I know Facebook, I can help build you a platform and a set of messaging that will help you reach where others can't. All right? Now, it may take some time, and I'm not some wizard that knows everything about Facebook, but in the end, you can trust me to try and figure it out for you. And then, just like we always do in Concierge, copy and paste or print. That's it. All right? You don't have to try and figure it all out. Just trust me in some ways. Alter your messages just a little bit so they sound more like you, and then off you go. All right? Any more advice? Oh, get into the CRM. We just talked about Concierge.
Oops, sorry, guys.
All right. Here's the critical part, and this is the last thing I'm going to leave you with. Marketing going forward is going to be a job. If you've never seen it like that before, it's going to be a job. If you're not spending at least 2 hours a day marketing your business, you should expect to fail. All right? Now, my training coming up will give you the tools you need in order to make that happen. And for some of you, you may actually enjoy it. All right? Not saying you will. Some of you may actually enjoy it. Because in the end, we all enjoy something when it sends back positivity, right? So let's say for a whole month, you dedicate 2 hours a day. You're now 60 hours into your marketing, which in the end, that's not a lot. But if all of a sudden leads start coming in, and all of a sudden your follow-ups actually start meaning something, and now the leads are starting to produce better, guess what happens? You're going to look back and say, you know what? I need to do 3 hours. What could happen if I did 4 hours? At that point, you're moving forward. If you're not committed to doing it, I don't know what to tell you going forward. That simple post on Facebook that you always hoped would produce leads, it probably isn't going to anymore. We always had hope before that it might. I'm telling you now, it probably won't. Unless you're boosting and you can afford to beat out the other people that are boosting.
You're saying a day? Because that says a week. You're saying 2 hours a day?
I would say two hours a day. But even if you did 2 to 4 hours a week, I mean, everybody put your heads down and tell me, raise your hand. Like, do you do 2 to 4 hours worth of marketing even a week on your business? No, you see, 2 people, 3 people raise their hands. So start with 2 to 4 hours a week. If you can do 2 hours a day, even better. All right? I know the phone is like this nasty thing. We never like to make phone calls. I personally don't love it either. But in the end, maybe we try and figure out something that we can do in order to make those conversations actually meaningful. All right? Who knows? We'll figure it out together. All right. So this is all about the training. This is the last one. I know I've talked about it a lot. If you have any questions about the training, I'll certainly be around to help you. The first 2 classes, you can choose Monday next week, or which is 12 to 2, or you can choose Tuesday, which is 6 to 8, or you can come to both.